Welcome to the dojo, everybody. Sensei here. Thank you guys for being here. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. A few days ago, I asked if you guys wanted to see a particular video, and the big video won. So here you have it. But before I start this video, I want to say that you guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you guys for supporting this channel. It's a lot of big things I would like to do for this channel later on down the line. But anyway, we're here for the serious talk. Will Baek return in Tekken 8? For my analysis and sources to help me provide my theories, I will explain the relationship between martial law and Baek in Tekken 2, Baek's encounter with Law in the Tekken 6 scenario campaign in Tekken 6, why Baek's militia called the Resistance was formed and what it had to do with Jin and the 𝕻𝕆𝕁𝕆, and lastly, why Hwoarang's ending in Tekken 7 may be an indicator for Baek not appearing or appearing in Tekken 8. In Tekken 2, Baek challenged multiple dojos out of rage, including martial laws, because he killed his father accidentally during a sparring match. That is so sad, man. It was a terrifying experience for Baek, which left him traumatized, driving him crazy every time he saw blood. When the police found him, they took him into their care and raised him as he walked the path of his father, a taekwondo master and champion. He was threatened with going public with the truth about his father's death if he didn't destroy his blackmailer's competition. It was inevitable that martial law and Baek would face off after Baek destroyed Law's dojo while the instructor was away. Martial law has not forgotten what happened to this day. This leads me to tell you about Baek's encounter with martial law in Tekken 6 scenario campaign mode. This was the conversation that took place. Martial law said, You're the one who went around challenging dojos. Baek said, I could try explaining myself, but it looks like such thing would be futile. Martial law then said, there's nothing you can say that will make me forget what you did back then. Prepare yourself. Then Baek said, if this is what will dissipate your anger, then so be it. By telling martial law he wants to explain, Baek seems to be asking for forgiveness, which shows he has a true sympathetic soft side and understands the price he paid for his decisions. I believe Hwoarang closed the tension between the two on purpose because martial law seems like the type of guy who can forgive and understand somebody, especially if they're being honest. Since martial law hasn't mentioned Baek since then, I think Hwoarang has also closed the door on their relationship, as martial law is currently attempting to challenge the man who is set to take over his dojo in his homeland, which was revealed in Tekken 7. Now we're going to jump into Tekken 6. The main reason why Baek was in Tekken 6 was because Hwoarang had been critically injured after losing to his rival Jin Kazama. Baek withdrew from the tournament and rushed to the hospital. Despite emergency measures rescuing Hwoarang, he had not yet awoken. Baek felt guilty that he had failed to prepare Hwoarang for his encounter with Jin. When Hwoarang awoke 3 days later, he was forced to wake up by his master after learning of what had happened. Hwoarang begged for strength more than he had ever shown before. Knowing how intense Hwoarang's will was, Baek decided to impart everything he knew to Hwoarang. Baek trained Hwoarang in the most extreme manner he had ever done after returning to Korea. In response to Mishima's Abusu at the time when Jin was causing war, Hwoarang and Baek formed a civilian militia called the Resistance. Miguel was part of the Resistance too. Now, even though Lars was amnesiac at the time, he defeated Baek and most of the Resistance members during an encounter with his rebel army. As a matter of fact, Baek stated that it wasn't Lars' fault, but since Lars attacked his men, he could not avoid fighting him. The main Resistance leader Hwoarang was hunted down by Lars after he defeated Baek. Confused and furious, Hwoarang told Lars that he could not let him go after what he had done. Regardless of his memories, there are no references to the Resistance after these events, suggesting that Lars might have destroyed them, which now leads to Hwoarang's ending in Tekken 7. In Hwoarang's ending in Tekken 7, Jin lies face down on the ground, his devil power subsiding. Hwoarang is frustrated and unsatisfied and yells, "What's the point of beating up a monster like you? UN soldier suddenly appears and throws grenades at them. After throwing Jin away from the blast radius, Hwoarang's knocked out unconscious when the explosion occurs. Seeing Jin fleeing with the soldiers in hot pursuit, Hwoarang tries to get up, covering his injured right eye with his hand, but collapses. I mention this because it appears that Hwoarang is now siding with Jin. As a result of Jin causing the war, Hwoarang's goal was to defeat him, but seeing Jin in that state, he recognized something wasn't right. So with the legendary, the icon, the OG Baek return in Tekken 8? Well, the answer is yes and no. Let me explain. So Baek most likely would not be training Hwoarang anymore, since he trained him with as much knowledge as he had when they were in Korea, as I mentioned earlier in the video. Even though I mentioned that Baek trained himself too, it is hard to say why Harada canonically would make Baek return until I found this. Remember when I mentioned about the dialogues and the conversations that happened between players in the Tekken 6 scenario campaign mode earlier with Baek? For instance, how I mentioned about Baek's dialogue with Marshall Law. Did you notice something? I never mentioned any Baek dialogues with Hwoarang, which leads me to find this on Tekken fandom. As a member of the Resistance, Baek has no dialogue with fellow Resistance members Hwoarang and Miguel. I was stunned when I read that because doing my research I did not realize that at all. So I went ahead and started to investigate more. And guys, you would not believe what my theory will be. My theory is Baek could possibly turn heel. Baek could possibly become a bad guy in Tekken 8 and turn his back against Hwoarang. Yes, Hwoarang is very smart. Here we go. Let's just shout out. This is my theory. This is my full theory right here. Since Lars defeated Baek and the Resistance canonically in the Tekken story, I decided to investigate the dialogue between Baek and Lars in the scenario campaign mode in Tekken 6, and what I found was absolutely crazy. This is what was said. Baek said to Lars, "So you really are the leader of the rebel army? The reports were right." Lars said, "So they tell me." Baek then said, "I see the reports were true about you losing your memory too, but you've injured my men, and for that, I can't let you leave." Not only does this confirm that this conversation took place after the Lars versus Baek fight, but this also leaves the spark that Baek could possibly form a new Resistance team that is trying to destroy Jin Kazama and the 𝕻𝕆𝕁𝕆. Miguel also could be a part of that new Resistance group since Miguel hates the 𝕻𝕆𝕁𝕆. Since Hwoarang doesn't know that Lars and Jin are low-key friends now, Hwoarang could possibly forgive Lars for defeating Baek and become allies with both Lars and Jin, especially since Lars has amnesia. In Tekken 8, how are we to know that Jin, Hwoarang, and Lars might become allies? Number 1. Jin helped save Hwoarang against the Korean military during the events after Tekken 4. Number 2. Alyssa said this during the Tekken 6 scenario campaign mode about how Hwoarang and Lars feel about Jin. She said the Resistance leader carries stronger feelings of loyalty and fidelity for Jin Kazama than for the 𝕻𝕆𝕁𝕆. Acting on human emotion alone is erroneous for a faction leader. Lars may have the same defect. Knowing what Alyssa said is canon, Harada could confirm that Jin, Lars, and Hwoarang could become allies from that statement. I hope that happens. Can you guys imagine that? Can you imagine that? This is some good ass Tekken right here. This is a good video. Can you imagine if Hwoarang, Jin, and Lars are all on the same team fighting for justice? Like, I think that would be one of the greatest things of all time to ever happen in Tekken. That's cool. Number 3, Hwoarang saved Jin from being exploded by a grenade from the UN, which is why his eye is injured and wears an eye patch in Tekken 7. The possibility of Jin, Lars, and Hwoarang forming a trio in Tekken 8 could also upset Baek and turn him against Hwoarang, because Baek does not like neither Jin nor Lars. Now this is when this video gets crazy. I hope you guys got some popcorn, something to eat. I'm gonna shut up again. Here we go. I'm gonna shut up. Due to Jin's war, Baek hates Jin and wants to destroy the 𝕻𝕆𝕁𝕆. Jin even mentioned that Baek's army, which is called the Resistance, has been annoying him during the events of Tekken 6. Okay? Another thing, Alyssa's journal in Tekken 6 scenario campaign stated that Baek said the aim of the Resistance is not just to stop the war, but to take down the 𝕻𝕆𝕁𝕆, as they are tired of living under the heel of its global influence. Guys, that right there is absolutely crazy. That's crazy. Now you have to ask this question. If Baek saw Hwoarang hanging out with Jin and Lars, how would you think Baek would feel? If Jin explained to Baek what the devil Jin was doing to him, maybe Baek would have forgave him. But it seems that because Baek doesn't like the 𝕻𝕆𝕁𝕆 itself, Baek could be saying that around that time because Jin was doing what he was doing with causing war and things to that matter. Number 2. 𝕻𝕆𝕁𝕆, the rebel army of Lars, killed some of Baek's men from the Resistance, which is why he does not like Lars, which gives us options in this predicament of what Baek could do in Tekken 8 as a bad guy. Number 1. Be manipulated by Kazuya and become a part of G Corporation to destroy the 𝕻𝕆𝕁𝕆. It is mentioned that G Corporation is neutral with the Resistance. This could possibly mean that Miguel and Baek could join forces with Kazuya. In most scenario campaign dialogues, characters are unaware who the Resistance leader is. However, Eddie Gordo apparently already knows that Hwoarang is the leader, suggesting that the 𝕻𝕆𝕁𝕆 and Tekken Force in particular are keeping a close eye on the Resistance. However, if you didn't know, Eddie Gordo left the Tekken Force because the 𝕻𝕆𝕁𝕆 couldn't save his Grandmaster. Why is that important? Because Nina is also Jin's bodyguard and a high rank for Tekken Force. It's likely she has her eyes on the Resistance as well. In Tekken 8, let's see who's all in the war at the moment. You got the 𝕻𝕆𝕁𝕆, you got G Corporation, you got the Rebel Army 𝕻𝕆𝕁, which is Lars, and possibly the Resistance, if they make a comeback. Will the Rebel Army of Lars, 𝕻𝕆𝕁, and Hwoarang join forces with Jin to defeat Kazuya? Will the Resistance that is being led by Baek and Miguel join forces with G Corporation? I hope they do both happen. If you're new to the channel, please karate chop that like button for some free chicken and join the dojo by subscribing to more Tekken 8 news and prediction videos. See you in the next episode. Peace out.